Hello, everyone. This is Libby Simmons. Welcome to TelePRACTICING for OTs and PTs. And I know some species just joined as well because there's some great things going to happen. So I'm so excited that Annie Lafferty is presenting our telepracticing session today, and she's got some really exciting things to share. At the end of this presentation, I will be sending you a link in the chat, or there will be a QR code in the PowerPoint. Please complete the survey. It's basically getting your name and email address, but we're trying to speed up the process of sending out certificates. And this is my practice as far as automating things. So please, at the end, make sure that you complete the survey. There's also a third question where you can ask for additional questions. Like if you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, and at the end we might be able to do open mic kinds of questions as well, but I'll be keeping track of your questions. But in your survey, if you have additional questions or if there are topics you would like addressed, that's the place where you can put those. So thank you very much. We're so glad that Annie's here. We're being recorded, so make sure everybody turns off their mic and their camera. And welcome, Annie. Thank you.
Hi, guys. Okay, so it's August 28th and COVID's still happening. So here we are again, back at telepracticing, so we can support and help each other with all the new types of therapy we're doing, the virtual telepractice, on-site blending, all of those together. So I'm really excited to show you guys some things today that I think can make it a little more fun, a little more unique and creative, and for us and our kids. So be sure to take down my email. If you guys need anything, any sort of help or whatever, feel free to reach out to me. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so welcome back, like I said, and just so I'm sure you guys know by now, but you have these great sites on the Department of Ed website. The first one is for your county's plan. One thing on there that I liked was showing you how many kids are enrolled in virtual, so you can kind of get an idea of what your caseload is going to look like. I'm sure your special ed directors have sent you those lists by now, but just if you want to double check. And of course, the metric we've all heard about how we're going to judge what color we're at, the green, yellow, orange, red, of how we're going back to school. Leanne, as we know, is going to be doing a meeting at 2 to kind of help us get back on track, give us updates on service models, what they're saying to the Department of Ed. Like I know Ria was in the lead SLP meeting this morning, and they were talking about groups, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So I would highly suggest attending that as well after this meeting. Okay, so the agenda for today, we're just going to do a little bit of recap of basics for the people that are new. All of us didn't start telepractice in the spring, so I know some of you are starting from scratch. So all of the presentations and the previous PowerPoints should be in the team site, so you guys can always reference those. I don't want to do too much repetitive material for the people who have already attended those, but feel free to review those, or feel free to reach out to me if you need any more help. Just a kind of a brief thing of what is this going to look like with a blend of on-site and virtual students. And then we're going to go over how to set up a virtual classroom with activities. Okay, basics. Course number 1, check your internet connection. Hardwired is best if you can to get a solid Ethernet connection. If we happen to be at home and you have family members, children, anybody else also pulling from Wi-Fi, it really taxes that system. And it's really hard to get a solid connection when you have a lot of devices on your Wi-Fi. So if you have Apple TV, iPads, Amazon Alexa, all of these things on your Wi-Fi at the same time, it'll really slow you down. So if you can hardwire in, I would recommend that. Obviously making sure you have all working equipment, cameras, clear audio. Test these things out. Make sure that all of these things are up and running before we start our first session. Have a space ready and room to work. So, for PTs and OTs, we're going to utilize floor space for exercises or gross motor sensory type things. OTs, we're going to be utilizing table space for, our table activities. Make sure you have this space set up and ready to go. You really don't want to say, okay, now we're going to do a gross motor activity. Let me move this table out of the way and shift these chairs over, because that lag in treatment time with telepractice is where we start to lose our kids. So want to make sure all of that is to go. Of course, having your materials and equipment handy in case you need to refocus quickly during a session. So I'm sure all of us that did this in the spring, we see that, oh, this treatment session's kind of going south. This student's just not having it today. I'm going to refocus to a gross motor activity, or I'm going to refocus to a Play-Doh activity instead of handwriting. Make sure you have all that right there so that you don't have to be searching for it. You don't have to have that lag time. And of course, always talk to other professionals and see what's been working for them with a certain student, a certain age group, whatever. I know I talked to a lot of speech therapists this spring where I said, this kid, I cannot get them to engage. I can't get them to attend. And they may say, oh, I've been using Go Noodle and he loves that. Try that. So really start networking, engaging with other therapists and using your teams. Now that I feel like I've gotten pretty fluent on Teams, it's a great, great resource to, start those chat threads, share resources, and kind of come together to help each other. And I know a lot of us say, I'm not tech savvy, I don't know anything about technology. It's really not as hard as you think it is. It's very easy to educate yourself now. There are tons and tons and tons of resources, Facebook pages, how-to guides, YouTube tutorials. There are so many of those things that we have at our disposal now that really you can become a tech-savvy person very easily. If you can work Google and you can search things, you can be tech-savvy with telepractice. I know with everything going on right now, I think the tech support and the IT teams are going to be really overwhelmed. And I really don't want to use them unless I really, really need them. So for a situation where my webcam is broke and I can't fix that, that's what I'm calling IT. If I say, how do I start a chat in Teams? That's something you can easily find online, and you can easily find a tutorial of how to do that. So I would reserve them for whenever you really need them. And of course, always reach out to others. I know in our Best Life and Integrated, team, we have people that have specialties in everything. So, like, 'cause I know some people are doing the green screens. I really have not done a green screen yet. And I have no idea how to do it, but I know the people that do. And then whenever I do that, I'm going to go to them and say, okay, teach me a green screen. And they may come to me and say, okay, show me how to do a virtual classroom. So really find out what you all are good at and who is specialized in what. And I can't stress this enough. Practice with the others before it's go time. Work out all these kinks, figure out how to screen share, figure out how to share your materials, practice giving your virtual classrooms back and forth. Like I know I have some of mine in here and I have some of Tasha's, and we've sent these back and forth 100 times saying, okay, try this link now, see if that works. Okay, well, I can edit this, so I need to send a non-editable version of it. Use each other, practice with each other. And so that way, whenever we're actually with students, we're not kind of fumbling through these things. And again, having that lag time where we'll lose our students. And I'm going to make some how-to documents for parents. I'm sure we can share those of just little basic things that I'm going to send an email saying, this is how you access this. This is how you connect with me on that. That way, if they have questions, they can easily have that document where they can reference, and it kind of doesn't eat up your time, asking and answering the same questions over and over. So if you have so many parents say, how do I join a Teams meeting? Oh, here's this document. This is how you join my Teams meetings. That's going to save you a lot of time, because that's something I think we're really going to be needing more of than we were in the spring, is really just the time and efficiency. Okay. So again, the recap, the past PowerPoints are on the team site. If you need more assistance, feel free to reach out. Again, this is a lot of trial and error. Don't get discouraged if your first sessions don't go well. Every kid I had, it took them like 2 or 3 sessions to really get rolling with it. And of course, this is a different mindset than we had in the spring. This is, more of we really need to be creative, find ways to reach these students, no matter what their connectivity, if they're on site, if they're virtual. So we really need to be thinking more in terms of how can I get to the student? How can I get creative? How can I figure this out? Instead of, well, that's just not going to happen right now. I know we'll have a lot of newbies, for therapists and parents alike. So we all just need to be patient and, take these first couple sessions, these first couple weeks to really learn, have parents figure this out, students figure this out, and you guys to figure this out. And always be prepared with plan A, B, and C. That's the key to telepractice. Be prepared, have your materials ready, have your plans ready, have backup materials and plans, and work out all of these bugs and kinks before you get into the session. Okay, so scheduling. I know that I've gotten a lot of questions about scheduling, how we're going to do this. Again, I would attend Leanne's meeting. She's going to go over this information and the delivery models, things like grouping, how are we going to manage all of this? She's going to have a lot of those answers at 2. I kind of plan to start with students I think will have the most issues with teletherapy for whatever reason, lack of connection, parents aren't really involved, maybe they didn't do very well in the spring. If they're on site, I'm going to schedule them first to make sure, I have them on site. If I have a kid that's, a really, really high attention span or, anything like that, that I may be able to get them if they have a remote day that they'll do well with teletherapy. I'm going to schedule that kid after I have this kid that I feel like won't be very successful with teletherapy, if that makes sense. Again, with Leanne at 2, we'll know, like, check with your county if virtual students are allowed to come on site to receive services. One key to this is going to be, we're going to have to be very organized and punctual and treat these like appointments. If we have a tele-session scheduled for 1 o'clock and parents show up at 1:15, they need to understand no matter what, that session is ending at 1:30. You will get 15 minutes. If you don't show up, that's the same thing as a child being absent. We're not going to have the time to say, okay, we're just going to wait around for an hour to see if he shows up. We need to start from the get-go with parents knowing this is an appointment. You need to, we need to maintain this schedule. If they aren't here, they're absent. Or if they, like I said, if they come 15 minutes late, they lose 15 minutes. And always check with your county's policy on grouping and virtual grouping. I've really become pretty fluent in the Microsoft Office suite. My gosh, they have so many things now to keep you organized and to keep the organizing things organized. So it's been much easier for me to keep all of that in one place. Because I had like my paper planner, I had my Outlook calendar, and I kind of use both. And then I would use this platform and that platform. It's been so much easier to keep everything on Outlook, everything on, my calendar, everything on my Microsoft platform. That's been a lot easier for scheduling, for meetings, for making all of these things and these resources. Okay, so what's this going to look like? We don't really know yet. So, I think we all need to kind of have a little, I don't even know. We just need to be prepared for anything, to be flexible, to be ready to kind of roll with the punches. I think a lot, it's going to be different in every county with the number of virtual students enrolled. We're likely going to go in and out of remote learning with on-site and virtual, and we just need to be ready for anything. I'm going to take these weeks where I don't have students there yet and really just get prepared as possible. I want to contact parents, know how to contact them. They know how to contact me, send home my how-to documents, all of this information that I can do right now when I don't have students. So that way, if my county goes red and they said, we're going all remote, I'm ready to go. I'm not scrambling the next day saying, okay, now I need to figure out how to log on with Johnny, or I need to send this to his parents. I want to have all of that done before we start. And, I really want to have them practice logging on before we would need to go remote or if we go remote. That way they're kind of ready for it. We're not going to have that lag of taking 20 minutes to figure out how to log on. They're already going to know how to do it. And again, just really utilize this time to get organized while we don't have students. And we're going to be dealing with varying degrees of connectivity. So even with the hotspots, I think we're still going to have some issues getting these treatment plans to students that require internet. Even if they can just go and download them, you know, we need to have prepared different models of therapy that can be utilized at different levels of connection. We also need to be prepared that, you know, it may be like the spring where we can't push paper back and forth. We can't send packets. They can't mail them back. So there are ways that we can get prepared and utilize different things like interactive PDFs, videos we make ourselves that they can download and they can access without having an internet connection. Okay, so now for the little more fun part of this, virtual classrooms. So I kind of got started on this because I saw one and I didn't really even know what it was. I thought, oh, that looks cool. But now that I've kind of gotten into it, I'm really excited about it because I think it's a way to really get creative and more personal with our students. It's going to feel a little more like coming into our room instead of just connecting via video conferencing. There are a ton of online tutorials to get started. So I linked a couple of them so you guys could see them. I'm just going to very briefly kind of skim through those of how I made these. You guys can watch those to get more in depth, but we just don't have the time to go through all of it right now. You can link PDFs, you can link videos into the slides, so you can easily just send this presentation to a parent or to a student. They can open it and they can access those links for work. Again, you can email the link for this from OneDrive. So with our students and teachers and everything having Microsoft platforms, they can easily access OneDrive and SharePoint that we can share these treatments in these virtual classrooms. And you can also add these to your team site. That will kind of give your team's site a little personal touch. Okay, so this is just one I made quickly. I've made a bunch of them and I'm just trying to get my, bearings on this. You can add the sky's the limit. You can be as creative as you want, add whatever you want. This one's a living room. I have like beach scenes and different OT rooms. These are actually links. So if you click, whenever I start the show, this star links to a Go Noodle video. This may link to a handwriting worksheet. This may link to a cutting worksheet. And I'll show you guys a little more about that when I show you how to share them. This is my perfect window. If I lived in the dead center of a lake and that was my view. But really, you can make this your own and you can change it. And you could also have this and you could make a duplicate slide. And, I'm kind of planning on having different levels of activities. You may have like a low, moderate, high slide where they have different activities for different kids. And then I have Dex here. He's my dog. So I'm using him for the consistency of Dex is your reward every time. So when you finish your activities, you click on Dex on the star, and that's when you get your reward or your break. So again, here's another one. This is me on the beach. And this is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. When they click on that, it'll play that video. Again, here's Dex with a star. So you may put an activity in your dolphin, in the crab, or in the tree, or on you. And those videos also show you how to incorporate your Bitmojis into your presentations. I use PowerPoint because, like I said, I just like using that Microsoft platform. Everything's so seamless. You can use Google Slides. There's a variety of ways to do these. This is Tasha Shriver is an OT of ours too. She works in Lewis and Gilmer counties. So this is her room, and you can see hers is like a little more traditional OT room. And she has her table here where you can click on this and get your table activities. She has her carpet here where you may have like gross motor activities. So whenever you put these pictures in your slides, they can click on the picture and you can link the activity. This may be a Play-Doh activity. This may be a coloring activity. Really, the sky's the limit and you can do whatever you want. If you want to put up here, your daily schedule, and you may link, activities to that schedule. So they can go here and they say, okay, number 1, I click on the fine motor activity. Number 2, we're doing a gross motor activity. Number 3, so that can be your visual schedule. This is Tasha's OT room, or her sensory room. We'll see if this plays. So you can embed these videos, where you could have a little aquarium playing here. You may have like a little bubble tube or something, that's some little sensory equipment. Just kind of a different room they can go in. So let's say your kid is just, your student is just not having it that day, or not having a good day. We may go to this instead. Okay, let's go to our sensory room, and let's talk about your feeling buddies, or how are you feeling today? What do you think we need to do to calm down? So even though we can't take them to a sensory room with virtual therapy, this is kind of equivalent of that, where we can take them to this room and show them, okay, let's calm down. You can click here and say, let's do some yoga poses. Let's do some breathing activities. Let's do some like deep pressure. And, once they get used to this, I think they'll really like it. I think once they get kind of the consistency of, okay, we can go to the sensory room and I can do some breathing. I can do a little bit of yoga. I can stretch or whatever. I think that'll be a good bridge to us, physically being there and doing sensory with them. Okay, so I have a blank one here. So I just want to show you very briefly kind of how I started this. So this is my design for these slides, but normally you would just start with a whole blank slide. You're going to go to Insert, Pictures, Online Pictures, and you're going to start with just wall and floor. So, okay, let's pick this one. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. And of course, now it's being slow. Okay, so once we get this picture in, we're just going to scale it to fit the slide. Then I may say, I want to do a rug. So to get the rugs, or to get the stuff in your room where it doesn't have a background, because obviously when you take a picture offline, it's going to have a background. You can put rug, transparent background. Okay, so let's do this rug. As you can see, I can put that in my room. And then let's do maybe like a beanbag. All right. So you guys get the picture of how, you can make this whatever you want. PTs, if you want to make this like a little, workout studio, you can do that, or you can have multiple different rooms. My plan is to kind of have like a welcome room, something like this, where this is the consistent room they walk in every single time whenever they come to virtual therapy. Well, I guess they log on, they don't walk in. So this is going to be consistent that, we have, okay, fine motor, gross motor, visual skills. We have our schedule over here. We have Dex, who is our reward whenever we're done. That's going to be consistent in every session. The links that you make, it could be a link to another slide, another virtual classroom. You may click on gross motor or click on sensory, and it goes to your sensory room where you have other activities linked. So you can get really creative of what you link. So, if I had this room, that may be our gross motor room, that may be linked to my original online classroom. You can change these. You could do different ones every week. You can keep them the same and just change the links or the activities. It's really entirely up to you. So I just wanted you guys to see that this is really actually very simple to do. And it's kind of been like a weird stress relief for me, because I feel like this is my way of like connecting with them in the same way they would come in my room, and I may have decorations different for fall or for Christmas. I can make this Christmas or fall. We can make different scenes. Like I said, one day we may be at the beach, the next day we may be at the mountains. And I think it's just going to be a way of kind of keeping them into it, keeping them excited, but also, like I said, with the consistency of they're going to get used to this room the same way they get used to our rooms at school, where they know we come in, we sit down, here's what we do first, here's what we do second, then we have a reward. You may put like a treasure box in there, then that might be your reward. And then, but also kind of varying it up a little bit with the different rooms. Okay, so you can share these links with families. And whenever you go up here to your share, you're going to copy the link. So you're not just going to put their email in, because then they're going to be able to edit it, or it's going to send them the version of it that's kind of like this is open, if that makes sense. It's not going to send them the slideshow. So it's very important that you send them the view only link, because if you send them the link they can edit that classroom, and then if they save it, it's going to save on your end too, that because you shared it with them. So what I've done is I made a Word document with my virtual classrooms that I may put like virtual classroom living room, virtual classroom beach, and I have these links copied. And there's this little piece of code right here that you're going to add to the end of any link. That's going to make it to where they can't edit it, they can only view it, but they can still access the links. So you're going to copy this link, copy the whole link, put it in your Word document, add this to the end, and then copy that entire link, and that's what you're going to share. So let me see here if I can. I'm going to share my whole screen with you guys. Okay, can you see my teams and everything here?
Yes, I think I see your PowerPoint screen, and then I think your Teams is behind it.
Okay, can you see my Word document here?
No.
Okay. All right, let me do this.
There, I see it. There it is.
So this was the link I copied from the living room. And then you see where I copied this little piece of code and I added it to the very end. So this was the link that I got whenever I copied that. I copy this little piece of code here, copy, paste, and now this is the whole link that I want to share. So I'm going to copy that. And then I can put this into an email. And let's see, send this to myself. OT session. Wait. What's it doing? Okay. So I'm going to say OT session 828. So I may send this to parents. Okay, go to my, oh great, of course. Yeah, just did this. There we go. Oh gosh. All right, I think I copied a bunch of links while I was doing all this. That's not seeing my SharePoint. Well, of course, again, I did this 175 times, the one time I need it. It doesn't work. Yeah. Did someone say Annie?
No, I thought I heard somebody, but I don't hear them now.
It was me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think it's good for them to see this, to see that things like this can happen no matter how many times you practice. It's okay. You just work through it and don't feel badly about it. It happens. It's technology, and that's, we just need to be prepared for it.
Oh yeah, like I said, we sent these links back and forth 100 times, and they all worked, and they were all perfect.
There's the chat room.
Of course, the one time you need it, it doesn't work. Okay, let me try this one more time.
When you copied your link, you might have gotten 2 ands.
Yeah. So let's go from the beginning here. So if I say I'm going to share this, copy link, put it into my room here. Oh, I know what it is. I saved that again, so it may be in a different presentation then. Okay, add this, copy the whole thing. Okay, let's try this one more time. There we go. Okay. So I send parents this link, and I only have a couple things linked here. So the unicorn, they're going to click on the unicorn. I shared an activity with them where this is coloring designs. You can make this interactive. You can make any PDF or any file that you have. You can link it that way. You need to make sure that you put it on your OneDrive first. So whenever you put it on your OneDrive and your SharePoint, that gives them the permission to open it. And then this is Dex the reward. So they click on that, and it takes them to a YouTube video of Popsico. But you guys get the picture here. So like I said, the sky's the limit with this. You can put however many or however few links you want in here, but you see how you can save this and then send it to parents where they can't edit this. It's like they're just in the slideshow. And you could put 2 or 3 slides in here. You may have this one and then your sensory room, or this one and gross motor, sensory, or whatever other room you want to do. Okay, so you can also put this in your team site. So whenever, I have Miss Annie's OT room, you go into general, you go into the add tab on the side up there, and you click website. And you put that link, the one that has the piece of code on the end, put that in your website. And what it'll look like is up here in general, you have your posts, your files, your wiki, and you can save as your virtual OT room. Maybe you can have OT room, sensory room, gross motor room, whatever you want to do. Okay, you can easily duplicate these slides and add different links. You can have various skill levels or grades. You may have, I'm not thinking about maybe doing like different groups based on skill level. Instead of saying low, moderate, high, you may be able to say, I have my butterflies, my bumblebees, and my dragonflies. But you may have 3 presentations of the same things where you just link different activities in there. So, I may have a group that needs more gross motor, more sensory. They have minimal seated attention. They're going to need shorter, smaller activities with more breaks in between. So I may modify, this room where they have 1, 2, 3, 4. I may have one short little task here, a nice gross motor task, a sensory activity, another short little table activity, and then your reward. Or for my higher group, I may have 3 fine motor handwriting activities with 1 reward at the end. You guys get the picture that, you can really make this whatever you want. My plan is to create these for the week at the, beginning of the week, to create all of them, have them ready to go for different skill levels or whatever I need. That way I'm not trying to create, new sessions over and over, or it's just a lot less work to do. Again, like I said, you can make as many rooms as you want. You can do whatever you want. And again, this is also for you. It's a way for you to stay creative, keep your virtual therapy personalized, keep the kids interested, you know, to keep you interested. And just think of all the things we can do for like Christmas and fall. It's going to be so fun. Okay, so I figured you guys would have some questions.
There are questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Always feel free to contact me. Stay connected in teams. We can help each other. And remember, we're going to get through this. We're just going to be creative and a little more scrappy than we usually are. But we're going to do it.
Well, if you'd like, the first one, this is all through PowerPoint, right?
Yes, I've done this all through Microsoft platforms.
Okay. And they wondered if you might share your template.
Sure.
And someone asked if you do this individually with each kid, like each child has their own, well, you repeat it, but their own virtual room, right? In your session, you go through this every time. I think I asked that correctly.
No, you don't, it doesn't have to be per student. I mean, if you have, like, let's say you have 4 or 5 kids that are on the same skill level, you may use this for every kid. You may use the same slide or the same room for every kid, to kind of make it a little bit easier on you. If you really want to make a unique room for every child, you can. You don't have to. Like I said, you may, if you go to here and I say new slide, duplicate slide. So I've made the same exact slide, and I could go in here and say, okay, this is my butterfly group, this is my bumblebee slide, this is my dragonfly slide. You know, where I have different levels, different grade levels, however you want to break it up. You know, you may just have 3 different virtual rooms that have different levels of activities in them. So you may say, okay, kind of done my caseload here. This is going to be my, you know, my butterfly group of virtual kids. This is my bumblebee group of virtual kids. This is my dragonfly group. So, you know, you may be able to mix and match kind of the different activities for each skill level and just use that same slide or that same room for multiple students.
So someone wanted to know, how do you add an activity or a link to the objects on the screen?
Okay, so what you would do is, let's say we're going to insert, I'll put an emoji in here. So I have an emoji, you know, any kind of thing you insert, a picture or whatever. You're going to go to action, hyperlink to. You can do a URL, which could be a YouTube video, a video that you made of an activity. Really any sort of URL. You could link to Go Noodle or whatever, you know, website you want. You could do another PowerPoint presentation, which may be like your sensory room. So if you say, you know, my virtual OT room, I have a presentation called virtual sensory room, you can link it to that, or you can link to another file. So then you would just go through your files, and you may have it like, this was the one coloring activity I had. You know, you may link that and click OK. So that is, when they click on that, that's where that link is. And if you saw in my, can you guys see this one, the living room again?
We're seeing the, looks like the therapy room.
Okay, hold on.
And when you go through and show them what you just did, could you kind of like wiggle your mouse around it so that we can see it?
Sure. And in those YouTube videos, this goes through all of that in great detail. So that's why I kind of just did just like a little bit, just quickly to kind of show you guys. But I would watch those YouTube videos so you can kind of go back through it and really get it in good detail. So here we have the room, that the link I sent them. If they hover over this star, you know, they can see this is linked to YouTube. This is linked to a SharePoint document. So they're going to be able to see what this is linked to. And again, like, this was on my SharePoint, and it brings it right up where they could print this off. They could do this online if it's interactive. But that is one thing I kind of thought of for these kids with limited connectivity. They may be able to go to these hotspots download these PowerPoint presentations and the links, and they'll have that at home. You know, if you made little videos or you had YouTube videos or these interactive PDFs, they could download those. And if they took them home, they could still participate that way, even though we might not be able to directly connect with them. But again, like I said, you go to this action button and you're going to add an action, and that will link to documents, URLs, whatever you need.
And there was a question about, you know, some people might not have access to printers, and so you would just maybe send these coloring sheets home, for example, as a packet or something?
Yes, I'm kind of thinking to the point where, like, I'm going so far down the road, if we can't do the paper packets back and forth anymore, you know, what could they do? I may be able to do another little thing on interactive PDFs. So if we had to do that where we couldn't print anything out, or, you know, we couldn't send paper home, we can do activities like that with the interactive PDFs. We also tried in the spring to make little activity videos. Like, I may have just a piece of paper, scissors, and a green crayon, and I link a little video where we're drawing a turtle with different shapes, and then we're cutting it out, and then we're cutting the squares, and then we're doing this, and, you know, doing that. That may be an option as well. So if they could download this and they click on that video or whatever, they can do those activities at home with minimal supplies. But again, this is part of the reason why we really need to get prepared in the beginning, because I know in the spring when we were like, okay, we'll just mail packets back and forth, and they told us no more mailing of packets. You know, so I want to be ready for anything. If they tell me I can't mail packets, all right, well, then we're going to do this. So the little short activity videos worked really well for me, and you could just do those on your cell phone. And if you did this on your cell phone, you email it to yourself, save that file. You can link it here. Can you guys see this video button right here? So if you go to insert video, you can do a movie from a file. You could do a URL like a YouTube video. That's how I did this aquarium. I linked it that way. But you could do a file and just make a little video that you did of an activity and link it in there.
So Annette Mason wanted to know, are you setting this up as an asynchronous activity or as a page you pull up at the beginning of each session?
It could be either. You, like I said, you could do like kind of an asynchronous activity where, like I said, again, you have like the videos embedded in there, you have things saved, you have PDFs, things they may not need internet connection for, or we can do this as direct synchronous, oh gosh, I can't say that, activity, where when they come into my room or I connect with them, this is what they're seeing. And I say, you know, hey, Johnny, how are you? How's everything going? Okay. What's first on the list today? Okay, gross motor warm-up. Let's click on it. All right, we're going to this Go Noodle video. Let's do this activity. All right, we're done with that. What's next? You know, visual skills. Okay, let's click on that. And it's linked to this little activity or worksheet that we need to do. You know, all right, next is our reward. So where's our reward? Okay, we click on Dex on the star, and that now we're all done. So I really think these can be used either way, if that answers your question. Did I answer your question?
You answered my question. While Annette responds, Ashley wants to know, how do we use this to monitor progress of students?
I mean, we're still going to need to keep our own data and monitor our progress the same way we do any other way. You know, so if we would do a fine motor activity, like let's say we did a Play-Doh skill where we're making letters with Play-Doh or something, you're going to monitor your progress the same way you would if they were one-on-one with you on site. You know, how did they do? Did they pay attention? What were their skills like? So in my mind, it's pretty much the same way that we would do on site, but you know, we will have a little bit more distraction and hiccups because of the virtual model and with parents and everything else, but really you just mark that down and keep your data.
There's a question from Ashley. If we have a family that refuses in-person or teletherapy, how do we now monitor that? I think that's something Leanne can answer in the next session if you're going to attend, Ashley. Do you plan on attending that? Because that's exactly what we'll be talking about at that session.
Yeah, those kind of questions, like, I know we all have questions about like virtual grouping, scheduling, what the, IEP type of questions and things like that. What if a parent refuses services? Those are all things Leanne's going to be able to answer and have more, better insight to that than I am. This is just more about just how are we going to do telepractice.
And this session, of course, is being recorded, and the next session will be recorded as well. And I think we're working on getting that link to you. So hold on, but we will get that in and put it in your chat. But while we're doing that, would you also, I'm going to add a link for the survey. So you're going to have two links, so don't get confused. The survey, which you have the CR code here, and I'm also linking, putting a link in the chat for the survey. Please fill out the survey. That's where you can ask any additional questions or suggest any additional topics. That's also where you would get a certificate for your attendance. So it's important that you complete the survey. So Leanne just added the join the teams. That is the link for the next session. And I'm going to put the link for the certificate of attendance. And here it goes. So you have the QR code, you have the certificate of attendance, and then you see the link up above for the meeting that starts at 2 o'clock. I am so excited. This is really fun, Annie, and I like the idea for structures, especially for kids like with autism. I think this would be really helpful to have the consistency.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to give them something else to look at other than, like I said, just the video conferencing of looking at us. And of course, we know that kids are really interactive and they understand computers and they understand computer games and everything. So if we can somehow make this a little bit of a game while also getting that structured, those structured activities and everything, I think that's a really good mix. That I hope it works, because that way, because like I said, they're used to coming in our rooms where they know we sit down, this is what we do, here's our schedule, here's our routine. I think this might create a little bit more of a routine, where they come into our virtual room and they know the schedule and they know what's next and they can read it on the board or however you decide to do that.
Did I ask all the questions that you guys had? Otherwise, just raise your hand and we'll make sure that your questions answered. I am so excited. This is really neat. And it's neat that part of it can be used with Teams as well. So that's great.
Yeah. And like I said, the Microsoft platform, I think it's a little daunting at first because there's just so much in the Microsoft Office suite. But really, if you get good at that, it really, really helps organize everything, and especially because everybody's on the Microsoft platform. So if you kind of master that level of like communication and flow, it's really, really helpful.
Okay, let's see. There's some other questions going on here. As far as the PT board is concerned, no, it's not been approved. What we hope to be able to do, as we're doing with the American Speech and Hearing Association, is maybe start in the October session. There will be monthly OT-PT virtual telepracticing sessions like this one. But it takes a while to go through the processes with the PT board and with ASHA. So we'll be sure and let you know, but this one has not been approved. However, you could use this certificate for your professional development or things that are required through your county, I would hope. And then there's a question about, okay, I'm trying to keep up. Can you use your QR code? Yeah, you shouldn't have to load Teams. I don't know what's going on. Is anybody else having trouble? I'm going to stop the recording while we're everybody's filling out their information, but I am going to stop the recording now. And some were able to complete it. Good. Okay, so I don't know exactly what's happening with